eye gold and you're watching the Pigskin Parrot.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Pigskin Parrot, where we are squawking football non-stop. Well, according to the internet, football season is officially over. Little does the internet know that it is wrong. If you're familiar with this channel, then you probably know that I have a little bit of a thing for alternative football. Basically, alternative football leagues are anything that's not the NFL or college football. Famous examples include the Canadian Football League or the XFL. But if you also know me, then you know that I'm a huge fan of one particular league, one that's gotten a lot of criticism over the past couple of years. That, of course, is the United Football League. And today, I'm here to tell you why you should watch it. The UFL, as you should know, is a league that was formed from the merger between the United States Football League, a rebooted league from 2022 based on one from the same name from the 1980s, and the XFL, a reboot of a league from 2001 that had a brief return in 2020, but due to the pandemic was rebooted in 2023. Confusing, right? Long story short, the UFL is the USFL plus the XFL. In the first season of the UFL, they made the USFL and the XFL the two conferences, basically taking whatever teams they chose from both leagues and putting them in those respective conferences. The league officially kicked off in 2024, and nobody watched it. So yes, the UFL kinda has a problem. Nobody knows it exists, and the folks who do don't want to watch it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the teams have very dedicated fan bases, more on that later, but support for the league, especially from its own owners, was at an extreme low. We as fans were willing to write this off as a transitional issue. Like, sure, maybe the people thought that the USFL and XFL folded and don't know what a UFL is. Maybe season 2 will be a little better. So after 2 disastrous years of the league, we are officially on year number 3. 2026 has a bright future for the UFL, and we're really hoping that things can change for the better. Well, I'm here to tell you that things are in fact changing for the better, and why the UFL is the league that you will want to watch in 2026. In my opinion, I think one of the biggest things that was confusing people about the UFL is its relation to the USFL and XFL brands. People were enjoying the USFL in 2022, and they actually knew what it was. It had memorable team names, strong attendance, and a strong television audience. The XFL then came along in 2023 and plopped itself right in the middle of the USFL season. Now people who are watching spring football were starting to get confused. If you weren't a die-hard fan, this all looked like the same crap and nobody knew the difference between what was what. Eventually people just thought all of it was the XFL, and that just kind of became the umbrella term that people would use to describe all football that wasn't the NFL. It didn't help that the XFL presentation was a little stale by comparison to the USFL, and had a lot of that Dwayne Johnson stink on it, which led people to look down at the overall state of spring football. This brand confusion is what ultimately led to the merger between the two leagues. Now unified under one roof, the United Football League was born. So now the common narrative assumed by people who are out of the loop is that the USFL and XFL folded due to low viewership and ratings, and the UFL is just some third league that nobody cares about and will soon fold because of course it will. The saddest part about this is that I don't even blame people for thinking that, because this league did a horrible job at marketing, and I mean absolutely abysmal, to the point to where some people just call the UFL the XFL because they see spring football and just assume that's what it is and don't even know that the UFL as a company exists. I complained about this a good bit in my last UFL video when I went into the 2025 USFL Conference Championship. I talked about how poor of a job the league had been doing in terms of advertising. Others have taken to Twitter and YouTube to express this same belief. Then, seemingly out of nowhere last summer, it was announced that the UFL was now in the reins of a new owner. A new owner that has since flipped the UFL from a league with no support to a league that fans have been begging for with extreme extremely high hopes for the future. Introducing Mike Rapoli, the UFL's newest owner. Rapoli has been on an absolute warpath since his first day in the office. His first course of action was to give the league a much needed makeover. He did this by gutting what he thought were the league's weakest links, starting with certain teams. Rapoli was immediately looked at in a negative light by fans of the league when it was announced that the San Antonio Brahmas, Michigan Panthers, and Memphis Showboats had all gotten the boot during the offseason and were being relocated as the Orlando Storm, Louisville Kings, and Columbus Aviators. The reasons for their relocation has mostly been based around attendance. Rapoli wants to go in a new direction where teams play in smaller stadiums that look better on TV. Memphis and San Antonio had really bad attendance, while Michigan had stadium complications that were unable to be moved to a smaller venue. So for those reasons, the teams were moved. The Houston Roughnecks were rebranded back to the Houston Gamblers, which was their original name in the USFL, and the Arlington Renegades have been rebranded back to the Dallas Renegades. Despite the negative backlash, this was needed in hindsight. With the addition of 3 original UFL teams, it made sense to finally ditch the USFL and XFL conferences. They already didn't make any sense geographically, so for 2026, the league is doing away with the pre-merger ties and are eliminating the USFL and XFL brands entirely. The UFL playoff is decided by taking the teams with the 4 best records and pitting them against each other. Rapoli has taken a lot of steps to take the league in a new direction. One of the biggest steps is the improved marketing. I mentioned already that the marketing has consistently been one of the UFL's biggest weaknesses, mostly because they just never did any of it. Rapoli has now changed the league's approach to advertising, putting a ton of effort into local ads, campaigns, fan events, social media marketing, and commercials. There are actual storylines heading into some of these games that they can sell to the public. They even hired new coaches that reflect more with the local college football fan bases. And they did a regional draft that put players with closer college ties to the teams. Some of these decisions were obviously controversial. I completely understand being upset at rosters and coaches being blown up out of nowhere, but that doesn't change the fact that this was necessary for the league's longevity. As of January 22nd, the full UFL schedules have been released. Games will be aired on ESPN, Fox, and ABC, as well as their sister stations like ESPN2 and FS1. So no worry about having weird subscriptions or anything. If you can watch college football in the NFL, then you can watch the UFL. So just to summarize everything I went over real quick, here is the gist and the current setup of the United Football League. United Football League owner, Mike Rapoli. He's the Roger Goodell of this league. There are 8 different teams: the Birmingham Stallions, DC Defenders, Louisville Kings, Orlando Storm, St. Louis Battlehawks, Columbus Aviators, Dallas Renegades, and the Houston Gamblers. Teams will play without conferences, and the best 4 will make the UFL playoffs. All games will air on ESPN, Fox, and ABC. That's all you need to know. So now for the meat and potatoes of this video. Why should you actually watch the UFL? Well, my reasoning for that is because I think it's a really fun alternative to college football and the NFL. I think people are quick to dismiss the UFL by claiming that it's bad football and doesn't live up to the talent level of the NFL. And honestly, I don't buy that excuse. That definitely is the type of thing people who have never watched the UFL would say just to put it down. I mean, obviously, there is a skill gap between the NFL's top athletes and the UFL's, but bad football? Brother, have you watched the last 2 Super Bowls? The same people that call themselves sickos on Twitter for watching Maction football at 12 in the morning are the same ones saying that the UFL is a bad football product on the field. And while that's not a knock on the Maction, that narrative just simply isn't true. Bad football would be quarterbacks that can't throw, wide receivers that can't catch, defenses being virtually non-existent. Like, yeah, the original XFL with Vince McMahon back in 2001, that was bad football. Most people wouldn't know that though, because the only clips they talk about when it comes to the original XFL are all non-football related. In the UFL, offenses are good in the air and on the ground. Defenses are solid. Special teams units are really good, so much so that 3 kickers from this league are now NFL starters. So yes, if you want entertaining football that is purely based on the love of the game, then the UFL is exactly what you're looking for. The UFL isn't just entertaining from a quality standpoint either. It does have its own quirks that makes the league unique from the NFL. Which brings me to our next major positive about the league, and that is the rule set. The rule set of the UFL is the same as the NFL, but with a few minor tweaks. The first rule that everybody always points out is the removal of extra point kicks. Now, you can still score after touchdowns, but the extra point kick has been replaced with various conversion attempts. You can opt for a traditional 2-point conversion after a score, or try a 1 or 3-point conversion by moving the ball closer or farther away from the goal line. Remember the true line technology from this past NFL season? Well, that actually came from the UFL. The UFL was the first to implement true line technology to help find out where the ball is spotted by triangulating the position of the ball with special cameras. Referee discussion is mic'd up, so you can hear all the juicy details pertaining to penalty calls. Speaking of penalty calls, they can all be challenged by head coaches. Even better, missed calls can also be challenged by head coaches, providing for a little different product than what you normally see in the NFL. Penalties are discussed on the broadcast and over the PA system by rules expert analysts like Mike Pereira and Dan Blandino, which gives the fans in the audience some clarity as to why certain calls were made. Last but not least, all teams have the option to run a 4th and 12 play instead of an onside kick. This is entirely optional and can only be used by the trailing team. This isn't confirmed yet, but there have been some rumors circulating that the UFL might try to incorporate 4-point field goal kicks for attempts beyond 60 yards and maybe make punting past the 50-yard line illegal. Again, this is not official yet, but be on the lookout in case it happens. One of the cool things about the UFL is how devoted the fan bases of the teams are to the league's product. And I mean, they're always just open to having more people to share their traditions with. For example, the St. Louis Battlehawks have the strongest fan base in the entire league, mostly supporting the team in spite of the UFL for taking away the Rams, which I think is pretty hilarious. The DC Defenders have their Beer Snake, where each week they try to break the previously set record. The Birmingham Stallions have the Shirtless section, which I was happy to partake in last season. The new teams obviously have to start their own unique traditions, but I'm excited to see what they decide on. The Columbus Aviators have already dubbed a particular section of their stadium as the Flight Deck, so it's cool to see that teams are coming up with their own little things before they've even played a down of football, which honestly ties into how strong the UFL community is as a whole. The biggest strength of the UFL, in my opinion, is the giant community. Now, don't get me wrong, once you disperse that community across all the games, it kind of thins out the audiences a little bit, but that's why they do so much work to try and bring in new fans every chance they get. They are always willing to adopt you as one of their own, and that is what I think is really cool about the fan bases. It's kind of funny because even though rivalries between teams do exist, everybody gets together at the end of the day to help promote the league in ways that they can, which I think is awesome. The fan base is also super vocal on social media, so if you're looking for spaces to talk about the games, you will find them. Every team has dedicated fan bases that post about the league year-round, especially on Twitter. For this video, I rounded up some of the greatest UFL fans that are out there, and I got them to try and convince you why you should support the league.
I'm Posh_Clevelander.
My name is Amira.
I'm XFL Jim.
Colt call.
Thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be on the Pigskin Parrot.
So we know the Battlehawks, one of their biggest strengths, of course, is their massive attendance. So how would you say that really shapes the community for the St. Louis fandom? What would you say is the biggest strength you guys have once that attendance is gathered?
I think St. Louis is a very big football town. Obviously, they lost the Rams however long ago that was. And so they've been yearning for football for so long. And so I think that really ties into a lot of the attendance records for St. Louis especially.
The Battlehawks fans attend those games, 30,000, maybe almost 40,000. I think that will continue this year.
What part of the UFL community do you love the most?
I really like everything. I like how all the fans are really trying to market the league. I love how all the UFL fans are like, yeah, I think the league can be bigger. Just the fans need to come together and market it in their cities.
What part of the UFL community do I love the most? I love there's just a true diehard fandom, to how people represent themselves to the teams. It's not just something they go to; they really wear it. You see those fans at the championship game wearing, different costumes. It reminds you of the vintage Oakland Raiders and just how much they really got into everything.
Because it's so online based, and it's gone through such significant changes since it started. Like there was the XFL community in 2020, which I feel changed and morphed in 2023, and then there was the USFL community, which had some holdovers from the XFL community in 2020, and then also was like ebbing and flowing. And my favorite parts about 2023 to 2025 were the XFL versus USFL like fans and the way they would go at each other and the like just the environment online. And I feel personally with how it's large-ish, but also small. I like how close-knit and small. Like, you know all the characters that there are online.
I love the players. That's my favorite part of the community. It's the players. The players are they're hungry. They know that this is their chance to play real football. They're accessible.
What would you say you're most excited for about the season?
I'm really excited for just the Battlehawks in general because it's a new team. It's not under Anthony Becht anymore. I'm really curious to see if I like to call it the curse of the Battlehawks making to the XFL championship game and then losing it will finally be gone.
Maybe with the elimination of the XFL and USFL conferences, maybe it'll be a more unified picture and a unified direction that we as fans want the league to go into. And I think you'll know fairly quickly, I'm going to say within weeks 3 or 4, how the online fan base fully will view this season.
You and me and podcasters, I felt were doing most of the heavy lifting in promoting the UFL. I really felt that. I want those days gone. I want those days gone.
Same. And marketing efforts have absolutely improved this season. I think one of the things we've seen with Rapoli is that he's not afraid to take people and do boots on the ground marketing. Here in Alabama, I think yesterday they had some marketers on near I-20 off that exit holding up stallion signs and waving at the road in big old horse costumes, and they had someone riding a horse down the street, and they were actually marketing.
And so I think I'm just excited for this new coaching staff and to see how they transform the Battlehawks. Obviously, the Battlehawks fall short every single year of the championship. They'll make it to the playoffs, but then they just will not perform to the best of their ability in the playoffs. And so I'm really hoping that will lead to a championship run this year with the new coaching staff.
Were there any surprises that got you in the draft this year? Are there any standout players?
However, I will mention Rodrigo Blankenship. Go into your Stallions. I think that is definitely probably the surprise of it all.
Kenny Willekes, he's a monster on the edge. We got Walter Palmore. He's one of the clutchest defensive tackles in the entire league. You can ask your coach, AJ McCarron, all about that.
I've been such a huge Jason Bean guy for a year. I love it. And I don't know, the other guy that stood out to me, I don't think he got drafted, but he might have got picked up, is Laviska Shenault. When he was at Colorado, the things he could do as a wide receiver were crazy.
I'm going to scream when I see Toa Tua just go complete for 4 yards. I will be, oh my gosh, because I love the fact that Sal Cannella is signed. Sal Cannella, I do believe, of the Renegades. I think he was of the Renegades. He signed a guy's a full contract tight end on the Browns.
All righty, well, thank you. That basically wraps it up as far as questions go. Can I see what you were cooking up there for the end?
Go Aviators on the Pigskin Parrot.
Caw on the Pigskin Parrot.
Caw from the Pigskin Parrot.
Go Aviators on the Pigskin Parrot.
We are united by football on the Pigskin Parrot.
I hope you all give the United Football League a shot this year. There are a lot of positives to look at going into the 2028 season. The fans have been asking for years for marketing from the league to try and attract new viewers, and they're finally doing it thanks to the new ownership. I think there's going to be a lot of good things happening this season, and a lot of good football will be played. If you ever see me at a Birmingham Stallions game, make sure you come up to me and talk shop. I'd love to talk more about football and other spring leagues that are out there. If you love this video and you want to see more football content, make sure you subscribe to the Pigskin Parrot. Hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like on the video, and make sure you turn on the little bell icon so you can get updates from all the new Pigskin Parrot releases. If you truly want an affordable and entertaining experience, please, please, please go watch a UFL game in person. You will not regret it. Do you like short form content? Well, guess what? I do too. That's why I created the official Instagram and TikTok page of the Pigskin Parrot. Make sure you give both of those a follow so you can get short form content whenever it's available. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. The road to 2,000 subscribers continues. My name is Preston McElhaney. Thank you for watching.